I feel like this year I've found my game. After I found my game, I found the little Marie who was playing before with her dad in Périgny, a small village. I feel like I have it now. Um, I feel like I played with my heart, with my hands, with my uh, smile. I was playing with me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Serving Up Trouble. This is the podcast about everything women's table tennis, and I'm your host, Chloe Island. It is hot. It's so hot. It's so warm these last few weeks. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's been training over the past few weeks. I have been just sweating buckets trying to do any kind of practice, any kind of training. So I guess my week in table tennis this week has just been trying not to die from heat exhaustion. And just to say, it seems obvious, but please make sure that you're drinking enough water. Please make sure that you're maybe not practicing at 100% this week. Maybe practice at 50% or even 20%. I'm sure people from overseas will be laughing at us, complaining about the heat, but this is not natural for us. We are not used to this. My special guest this week, you will likely know her as the host of popular table tennis podcast On the Edge, Marie Migot. But today, I want to know more about the Marie away from the mic, the turbulence that she faced as a young player, why she left playing professionally so young, and her perspective on the women and girls scene internationally. Marie Migot was number 1 in the Cadet Girls European Youth Ranking. She left home at 11, living in 5 different countries over her playing career, which is a very cool thing. She got to see a lot of the world before leaving professional table tennis aged just 24. Marie has recently spoken out at an ITTF summit for World Table Tennis Day this year on the athlete's journey from prodigy to pro. On her podcast, Marie interviews players from all around the globe, trying to get into their psychology and also the emotion behind the player. I really love On the Edge podcast. I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video because I think everyone should give it a go and check it out because she has some absolutely amazing guests on there and she's a really brilliant presenter, and also she has a very calming and soothing voice, much better than the racket that is me. So without further ado, let's get on to my chat with Marie Migot. Hi, Marie. Thank you.
Hi, Chloe. Thank you for having me.
No, it's really exciting. Does it feel strange being on the other side of the conversation?
I've done this few times, but I prefer to interview than to be interviewed, actually, because it's more sensitive. So, but I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So, well, let's start actually by talking about your podcast. How did this come about?
Well, I was a player before, and somehow I never had anyone to explain me their stories and their way, how they succeed or how they live their life. So I'm pretty deep person, and I'm going into detail, and I like to know the stories of the people. So I saw that with my also empathy and my wish to know better this world, I would create a podcast. Of course, I had different guests. I want to show like different faces of individuals out of the sport, not only athletes, but also coaches, parents, therapists. I a bit stopped that. I have not so much time to do that anymore. But the wish to do that is to a bit open the mind and to dig deeper, into the personalities of the sport.
First of all, you have a very relaxing voice.
Okay,
you have like a lovely reading podcast voice. So it's like, I can listen to you. But also, one of the things I really liked about it was the fact that you go into the psychological and you kind of talk about emotions and the emotions of an athlete in a way that I don't think that we really do. I think we're often focused on being on the table, about the physical aspects of sport and things like that. But then I guess with a sport like table tennis, emotions are so important. It can mean the difference, but having control of your emotions can be the difference between winning and losing and how you kind of succeed in this sport. So have you always kind of been interested in the psychological side?
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
I think I all my life I felt a bit different from that point of view. I always felt more intense, and the life that I had brought me to that path actually. So yeah, I don't like to speak about forehand and backhand. I like to go into really the questions which I never like experienced, you know.
Hmm.
So I mean, people there are also different level of life path, so they are entering on different way. I know that with some people I can go really deep because I know their level of knowing themselves very well.
Yeah.
So that's the point of that. But the psychological point of view, it's for me the most interesting thing in sport, in life, in in every human being. So uh, but I would like to go deeper. It's tough for me to know on which way I can go and how much I can go and how deep I can go.
Hmm.
So to know really the question that I have to ask is it's important, but it's not an easy exercise.
No, I'm sure it isn't. But I think, it's a testament to you as a host that you've been able to get people to open up and kind of give you these stories. And I think really important as well. And, you kind of mentioned that this wasn't anything that you'd really heard before as a young player. Players didn't really talk about their experiences and things like that. So I kind of want to go back now to kind of the start of your career. So do you remember the first time you picked up a bat? Like how did you find table tennis?
Yeah, I grew up in a very small village, and it was the hall next to the school. And my dad was playing, my family was playing, so I just picked up a racket. I was like maybe 3 or 4, and I've played in front of the fridge and next to the wall, and then with a table much higher than me, and so it was very natural for me to start playing. And I really I never had dolls or cars or Playmobil or whatever. I had the racket and the ball, and that was it. That was they told me that it was really me
Yeah.
playing table tennis. So yeah, I think it was yeah, my way of expression kind of already.
Yeah. How old were you when you first kind of started holding a racket?
Um, I was 4 when I went to the club, and I started really when I was like 5, 6. Very early. I
Yeah,
think
very early.
maybe too early, or maybe too early on the high level. But I
I mean,
started.
I was about 4 as well, I think. But my dad played. Did you have family, or did you pick up a
Yeah.
racket before that? How did you find that? Did you have a table tennis playing mum or dad?
Well, yeah, my dad was playing, my mom was playing, my
Oh, right. Okay,
cousins
both.
were playing, everybody was playing.
Hmm.
It was not football, it was table tennis in the village. So we were
Hmm.
all playing all the time together. So that's why my dad was good. He
Oh,
had a
right,
good
nice.
he had a good feeling, He had a good he was seeing the game. It
Mm.
was not stereotype and robotic play. It was like fun and feeling things. And I think he brought that to me.
Yeah. And when you kind of first started training properly, was it your dad that coached you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He coached me. Okay, not only him, I had a real coach in the club. Her name is Magali Noiro. I was 6, really starting to play already on the good level. And
Hmm.
then I was 7 when French team saw me already. So when I was 7, then I already left to some training camps out of my city. And then at 8, I was going to China already. And
Wow.
then it started like really early and very fast. But yeah, I think I had something in my hand. So that's why they saw this in me.
Hmm. So that's quite early to be starting to go to China and things like that. Do you remember when it started getting more serious for you?
Yeah. When I in a village, it was really for the fun to play. Like
Hmm.
I love to play table tennis. It's fun. But then one coach, it's a picture, but a coach arrived in my place, in my hall, in my village, from French team, and from that that day, it changed everything actually, because it was not only about the game, but it was like about improving my game. And actually, too early, I would say. So from seven it started. It started of being something else than just playing. Let's
Okay.
say
It starts.
I'm that person of I need to have fun. I need to enjoy. I need to. I don't know. I don't know if I was a real competitor, actually, but everything around was asking me to be a competitor. But the thing I liked it was the game.
Yeah. So you still enjoyed playing, you enjoyed the sport, but it kind of started to become more than just kind of playing at a club level, playing with friends, playing, in that it started to become a little bit more serious. Like it started to become a career at quite a young age. And you're going abroad and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about, for people who might not know how this kind of works, when you're a high ranking younger player, what is the aim of basically sending you abroad, sending you to China, things like that? What is it that the team is trying to kind of achieve by sending you to these places and passing you to other coaches and things like that?
Well, I think they want me to improve, of course.
Yeah.
They want me to see a different culture. They want me to see the best players because in China or Japan or Asia, they are the best players in the world. So to spend some time with the same age kid like me, maybe it was also good for me to see where I am on that level and what they can bring me in my techniques, in the tactics, to see how much they train. That was they train a lot. So,
Yeah.
so you take everything, when you're a kid, you also, I think when you are younger, you're absorbing things. So you learn faster. So it's the time also, to present you some different kind of practice. So that's cool. It's cool
Oh
to
yeah.
say, I was going to China and I was 8, traveling around. It's cool to leave home for that and to do things that I liked. Um, so it's still a cool thing. I think it brought me also who I am today and the experience I have as a human, and the psychological way is also coming from that. So it's that's
How did the training in China kind of compare to what you had been doing previously?
when I was like 8 when I was going there.
Yeah,
I remember it was a full hall. It was
really.
full of kids. It was a mess also, kind of, like boards everywhere, practicing twice or 3 times a day already. Parents were there to pick up the balls. I remember most of the time. I don't know what's their mindset in that, but I remember that the parents were there on the practice. A lot of matches also, a lot of competition between them, and a lot of noise. That's what I remember from that. Much less quiet than in France,
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
and more kids.
And in 2013, you were the number one in the European youth ranking. Can you remember kind of reaching that point, kind of how that felt for you? Did you feel like the training had worked? Were you still just hungry for the next step? Where was your mindset when you'd kind of reached that number one spot at that kind of like early age, early time?
In that time, I was practicing in Nantes in a center, French center, but only with boys. So I was the only girl in this group. We were 7 boys, and I was the 8th one. And the practice was really hard on a physical way. But I love that. I love the physical challenge. I love to play with guys because it's fun. It's different mindset. We were in a big group with 2 coaches. They were taking care of me. So in that time, I think it was the best period of practice for me during my career, I would say, in my whole career, because it was everything there. So when I reached the number one, I don't really remember, actually, because it's something, it was normal. I felt like it was normal. I felt like I was always number one in France or in that age. So for me, it was nothing special. And
Okay.
I think it's pity to think that also. Now that I think back, it was normal. It
Right.
was like what the coaches were also, it was also normal for them, I think. So I felt like, yeah, it's normal. Let's continue, you know?
Yeah. The next. What's the next?
Next.
Yeah.
What's the next? Always searching for more.
Would you say that you're that kind of person as well, that you're kind of looking for the next thing, you're working towards the next thing? Are you quite I don't know, maybe a perfectionist in that way? Do you kind of strive for the next rung all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Being perfectionist was a big part of my career. A big part of my career. Even today, you know, I'm trying to also detach myself from doing things right and perfectly and the perfect move and the perfect right and the perfect like everything. So yeah, but when you're a player, you can't do everything perfectly. It's impossible. But everything tend to me to like I had to be perfect.
Mm.
I had to. It was normal to be number one, so I had to. Like that was the more normal thing to do. I was the good student, the quiet girl. The yeah, nothing. My hair is going like everywhere. You know, it's perfect techniques and everything. So it miss some fantasy, some spices. Today I have that, but in that time I was, I think, perfect, too perfect.
Too perfect. Say that kind of that led to putting quite a lot of pressure on yourself as your career. Like you stopped being a professional player when you were around 24, is that right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Like how did you kind of come to that decision to kind of step back? And was it kind of on your terms? Was it time to go? Or was it also a bit of the psychological side of it as well?
Yeah. Well, I had a burnout. I had a burnout in starting in 2022, I would say. 21. Yeah, a bit after COVID.
Yeah.
I left from my country when I was 15. I went to practice in Japan for a year. So when I was number one in cadet in Europe, I went to Japan. So I left all the French system, the like everything what was not anymore. I left there 1 year alone.
Mm. Oh wow, you were alone.
Yeah, 1 year alone. So I was practicing there, going to school there 1 year, and then when I came back, I didn't feel welcome in France. So many things happened. Anyway, it happened. Today I'm fine with that, and it had to happen. You know, I believe that. But when I came back, I was no one. I was not anymore in team A in junior. I was not anymore playing well. Also, so I left my status, and from that day, I wanted all the time to prove something to French Federation or to that I'm still good, that I'm still playing good, that I can be still a good player. So my psychology changed, switch. It became that I want to prove myself. And when I think you want to prove yourself for many years, you also lose. I lost my desire to really play and enjoy and being myself, just playing table tennis. It just became like, yeah, bad mechanism in my mind that I want to be back there, so I would prove them, so I would do everything that they want or that seems good to me to prove that I can still be good, and that actually slowly
Yeah.
pushed me away from myself. So yeah, it was tough years. I have very tough years. So yeah, I burned, and then it was just logical that I stopped because I just couldn't play anymore. I didn't know, like, who I was really as a as a human also, and as a player, and have my game, my style, my okay now, okay, how do I want to play, what I want to do with the sport, why I play, what's the goal of everything, I lost it.
Yeah.
So,
You've touched on a few things there that I think are really interesting. And, this might seem like a bit of a tangent, but I'm quite interested in, the careers of child stars in Hollywood and how, in the age of digital media and things, how we care for famous children or things like that is kind of changing or needs to change. And I think there is also a conversation to have about athletes in that role, because there's two things that you just said that really kind of piqued that for me. Was like, after the cadets, you felt like you had something to prove, and you felt like you had to kind of be where you were, when you were at your peak as a young player. And I'm just kind of interested in kind of your thoughts about, how the system works for young players, this going abroad, you don't quite know who you are because this is your thing, and you're kind of working towards a goal. And it becomes a bit your life, in a way, because it's everything that you're trying to achieve. So how do you kind of feel looking back on that time, and also kind of looking at how like the system still kind of works for young athletes in that way? That was very badly worded on my part, but do you know what I'm trying to?
of course, of course. That subject is very important to me at the moment, because I think to share my experience, which is small, many other people have the same experience or worse or whatever. But I know that 10 years ago is different than today, because I was 15, so that's even 12 years back. So the system has changed also in French Federation, and I think in sport in general, in psychology, it's more open now. You can say that you are seeing the therapies, that you are working on your mental strength, that you are working on yourself, I think. But still, when you are 10 to, even 7, when you are 7 to 15, 16, you are building yourself as a person. And in that time, if you are not well surrounded, or if you have, it's a tough world. It's a tough world where you have to win medals, that then you feel like you matter, that you feel like you are worth something. If you lose, then you are always like not really seen, So you always have the pressure to do something. And when you are 10, 11, and you don't know who you are, and you don't have anywhere where you are safe, then you can also lose yourself in that system, and you just follow the people, what they're asking you to do, because you don't know when you're a kid. You have no idea where you go. You do what they ask you to do. And from my own experience, when I was 10, I remember I had a training camp with French team, and one coach came to me and he said, you have to be more loud. You have to say "cho." You have to show that you are strong, that you want to win, that, and in some way at 10, I was like, oh, all right. So it means like what I'm doing now is not enough. I don't show enough. I don't do how they want me to do. Okay, so I will change. I will try to change something. But then all the time it was in my mind for the next years that, oh, okay, I'm not enough. Actually, I'm not doing the right thing, what they're asking me to do. And then it's building your personality. It's building what, when you're a kid, your parents teach you something, so it's coming into your unconscious and everything. But when you have coach or teachers or whatever in cinema or whatever, then when you hear something, it's coming to your mind. So it's so important to let the kid grow how he or she has to grow with their own strength and with who they are. you cannot change them when they are 10 or 11. They are just exploring life, And if they are not shouting loud, because sport you have to shout loud, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe they have something else. Maybe they are more sensitive, so you can try to speak to her or him on the way that he or she will understand, her power and how she can deal with everything. But yeah, it's such a important period when you are young, and to be well surrounded and to be heard and to be listened and to be growing. We are not only athletes, we are human beings first. So
Is there anything that would have kind of helped you during that time that you would have liked to have seen, or would maybe even still like to see kind of implemented in the system now?
well, when I was younger, I had no idea about all of this. I had no idea, and I think that this experience will help me for the future and maybe for the future generation. So I'm happy that it happened to me, and that I can help other people then. And what I would like to have, I don't know, but now I know that the kids are staying more home. Like they can decide either they are going to some center to practice, or they can stay with more the close friends, their close family. They don't need to go out to be good, let's say. So now it's better. If you see the Lebrun's brother, they are still home. If you see Trolls, he is also home. If you see, I don't know, also in French Federation now, it's more open. You don't need to go in the same place with everybody else doing the same things. So that's good. I think that's a good start. I left too far from home. I left too far from my family, from people, who knew me the best. So I lost this protection. But just it's good, I think, if they have time to live their life with their family, to learn life as well, at the same time combining with their career. But this is, I think, improving.
Yeah.
In table tennis, at least. In other sport, I think not, but in table tennis, yes.
There's more of an awareness, I think.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
In part thanks to people like you that kind of, talk about their experiences. And, you're right, like 10 years is a long time when it comes to things like this, in terms of like the attitudes towards it. If you think about, how we talk about mental health now compared to how we talked about mental health 10 years ago, it was completely different. So I think, so there's been a massive culture shift, but also people have spoken up and actually started talking about it, which I think is a very brave but important thing to be doing, especially in sport and things like that, where we don't really talk about that. It's time now for our tip of the week, and today's tip comes from Steve Brunskill, who's the TTE Coach Development Officer. So this is Steve's tip.
Hi, my name's Steve Brunskill, and I'm a level 3 coach. I'm Coach Development Officer for Table Tennis England. My tip for the week is, whenever you're looping, make sure you've got a solid base and you play from the floor. Make sure the feet are nice and wide apart, well balanced and gripping the floor. And you transfer your weight up through the legs into the hips, which will help to give you more power. It will also make your shot more consistent and more stable. Good luck.
Thank you, Steve. And now back to Marie. I want to take a little sidebar now and actually talk about just table tennis in general in France, because you guys had the Olympics, you hosted the Olympics.
Yes.
And you were a volunteer at the Olympics. Do you mind talking a little bit about your experience being at Paris Olympics and what you were doing there?
Yeah. I was working there. I was not a volunteer.
Oh, you were working there. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. I was working there, so I spent like 4 months in Paris, so 2 months before the games and 2 months during the games. I was like the athlete coordinator, so taking care that athletes have everything on site. It's maybe a bit boring to speak about it, but anyway, I was at the heart of it, trying to manage some like the players' lounge room, the warming up area. I had like 40 volunteers on my, how to say, with
On
me.
your like squad on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, on my team I had 40 volunteers, so managing them and that everything is going smooth and well. And yeah, Paris during the games was was fantastic. I think I spoke also to people like last week, and they are living in Paris, and they said that Paris in that time was the best Paris ever. So yeah, table tennis grew also a lot during that 2 weeks, even after for the Paralympics as well. So the visibility is amazing now in France. After that, so with the LeBron brother with 2 medals, it was full hall all the time, 6,000 people. Doesn't matter who is playing, it was still full all the time. I mean, that was a party, table tennis party.
Oh,
I think, yeah. Now that was really amazing, and the impact that we have now, we have like I think 20% more
like
table tennis players. Like, yeah, you know what I mean. In France, yes, and in the clubs they are refusing also people because there is not enough space. So it's a big jump forward.
How do you see like the development for the women's game in France?
Yeah, I mean, if you see, I don't know, maybe in the last 4 years, we had like 2 players in top 20, so Pritika and Janan, which is pretty amazing. I think at the Olympics it was not their best performance, but if you take before that and even now, Janan just won the contender now. So I mean, I think it's not only for men's but it's also like it's for the team, like the French team in the package. You know, they spend also training games together, so you can see that the euphoria can be, I think, together. I'm not in the French team anymore, and it's changed a lot since I left. So I can't really answer that question.
Yeah.
But of course that it's a positive impact for women as well, because it's more visibility and yeah, I think it will grow still.
How did you feel kind of participating, working at the Olympics? Did you ever get a little twang of like, I should be on the table, or were you quite at peace with it?
I was very happy to not be there as an athlete.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that was the question from when I passed the interview, like to have this job. The manager asked me if it would be hard to just watch them and not play there, and I was like, for sure not. This part I left behind, and I was not ready mentally, physically, and everything to just like do it again. Like totally at peace. The work I've done mentally, with my therapist and everything, it was working very well, and I was just happy to experience. It was our games as well. Like we had a crazy great team working there. We were like 10 people, and I experienced that without any stress. I mean, when I played table tennis, I had huge stress. So I couldn't compare the stress I had working there of playing, So I was very happy to be chill, relaxed, having a great energy atmosphere, doing what I think I can do well as well. I was in my own strength, doing that job. So I felt like I'm not only a player, but I can also be something else. And I was happy to see that and to share that with them. So no, I had no bitterness. I was just happy to be there. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that. That's
yeah.
So how do you kind of, I mean, apart from the podcast, of course, but how do you kind of engage with table tennis now? Do you still play in a team? Do you still play in a league? Like, how do you feel about the sport now that you've kind of come out of being a professional, but you're still kind of operating in that world, essentially?
I moved in Quimper in Pro A. I'm still playing in France in the club. I moved like just after the games. I changed the club, so I spent 1 year now. I played 10 matches, and I have 85% victory. So it's really
that's a good percentage. Well done.
But
nice.
without practicing, and this is very funny actually. I feel like this year I found my game. After I found my game, I found the little Marie who was playing before with her dad in Périgny, a small village. I feel like I have it now. Um, I feel like I played with my heart, with my hands, with my smile. I was playing with me. So I said I will stop the league, but actually I will continue next year for a few matches still, because I think I would miss it. And yeah, I still I found the love again. I had big problems before with sleeping and with stress and everything for the past 2 years, but since this year I feel like I'm in a good place. So I don't know what the future have, but I'm happy with my table tennis recently. Yeah.
It seems like your kind of relationship to the game has really changed. And it's almost like it's matured and become something else.
It's yeah, I'm not anymore. How to say, like before I was okay. At 9 I'm going to practice. At 10 I'm doing service practice. At 11 I go back. At 12 I eat. At 1 I rest. It was very organized planning and everything. And now I'm just like, today I don't feel it. No, today I will not go today. I will go tomorrow to practice. And then I'm going the next day and I'm just playing like half hour, focusing on really what matters the most, with the full focus, with the full joy of who I am, and it's enough. And then in the match, in the game, I'm just like, all right, let's play a game. Let's see who is the best, for 30 minutes. Let's enjoy that, this challenge, and let's see what happens. But I'm just playing now, very smooth, chilled, with a mature mindset, and with that's the word. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, I'm so happy for you. That sounds really, really great. I'm so happy that you're still kind of, you're still in the sport. You're still able to participate in the sport, and you've kind of learned how to love it again, which I think is just.
And that's something I never thought so. I
Really?
thought I would never know. I thought it was done, Like 2 years ago, I thought, oh, I don't want this at all anymore. I don't want, it was like, phew. But it changed with the time. I didn't know, but with the time, you are healing some things and you are saying things differently, and it's a part of me. I would not have started at 4 and loved the sport so much. I think it's part of me. So now I'm okay with that. That is a part of me.
What kind of advice would you have, kind of first for a young player who might be in a similar position to where you were? So, somebody who's maybe on a pathway, who's kind of got aspirations of being part of their national team, or their number one, or things like that. Have you got any advice for those kind of young players?
It's hard to give an advice because everybody is so different, and it's with my experience now that I realize what was good for me in that time. So it's very hard, but the thing I always say, and more now, it's just that. But it's tough. But they have to know who they are first. They have to know their strength. Like, definitely, they have to know, like, really what they aspire to be, to build something then around them and not against them. So yeah, know who you are on the different level, psychology, in the game as well. What's your strength, and then see from that strong ball, then just go then. But know who you are. That's very important, and don't be ashamed of who you are. Also,
There's two sides. That's for sure.
Please you, so just go with who you are. That would be my advice.
I think that's good advice. I also wanted to ask about if you've got any advice for coaches or the people that might be looking after that young team, that I think, it's hard when when there's a big age gap to kind of remember how you felt in that position. I think that would always try and be, my advice when I'm trying to tell a coach, like not to, think about how you would feel at that age receiving your energy or like your advice or things like that. But I'm kind of curious from your perspective as to what you might say to a coach that's got a young team to look after, maybe going abroad a lot. There's their own challenges that kind of come with that. How would you like to see that person kind of behaving and acting?
I think that I'm doing a coaching school, and the thing I learned and the thing I knew before, but not that much, but now I know very well, is that I'm me, Marie Migot, with my own experience, with my own beliefs, with my own life. But the kids who are in front of me, they are not me. They are different. So the way how I speak to them, the way how I ask them, the way how I teach them, it should not be related with who I am. It should be related with who they are. So I'm sensitive, I'm empathic, I'm whatever I am. Maybe they are not in front of me, So, and they should still be that. They should still be them. So what I would advise is to first know yourself as a coach, as a person of who you are, to not, you know what I mean, to cover, to put your personality into them, because maybe then you don't speak the same language, So that would be my advice, that to know yourself, to know the players, and to not, I don't know say in English, but
yeah, no, I think I know what you mean. So kind of not to, put your own personality onto the player in a way, like not to.
Yes.
Oh, there is a word for it, but I'm struggling to find it as well. But it's almost like, projecting, not to project.
Thing exactly. Yep. Yeah, that's very important, because then you will lose them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they will like you, they will be close to you, but maybe that's not what it means to be,
Yeah.
They have to do their own road, and they with their own style. So projecting, is the good thing. So that.
Yeah, I think, table tennis, I think, can be quite an isolating sport. Yeah. I think I definitely found that as like a young player and things, especially because my dad was my coach. I didn't like interact with some of the other girls or the other players. It would just be us going to tournaments. And even though there were peers, like there were people of my age group, like they weren't friends, like we didn't kind of bond in that way. And so we didn't really talk about things. And then as we all got older, we continued to not talk about things. We were acquaintances who would kind of play each other on the table rather than being, a team or a friendship group or things like that. I think there was definitely that disconnect. And because it's, you're playing as an individual so often, you can be very in your own head. Like you don't get that perspective from other players around you about, emotion or even like how to process what you're doing. Like you don't even have someone to talk about the game with sometimes. Like it's, you'll just kind of say hi, have a sandwich or whatever, or you're like, have your picnic, and then you go on the table and then you have to beat one another. And all of a sudden these questions start getting, you will start overthinking, and you don't really know if it's just you.
I get it. I understand. I mean, and everybody has as you say, has their own perspective on things, and have their own story inside that they will not share, that they want to share, or that you don't know even they know that, It's a fancy. But I was lucky that I met few people that helped me on that, like older people that I could speak to about things, and still today, not only about table tennis but about life. And I'm glad that I could build this bond with few people, very few people.
And I
But
think now
yeah.
through doing what you're doing, you're starting to create that bond with others as well.
So you really believe that like you like my podcast, but
Yeah.
what would you say what you would give me for advice, like to improve it? You know?
Oh gosh. Okay, that's tricky because I think, I started doing this because I was a little bit frustrated about how women's sport was being presented as a bit of a charity. And we
Yeah.
weren't talking about it as the sport. It was all about support women's table tennis, support women's sport, rather than just talking about the play and talking about the skill and talking about the personalities the same way that we would with the men's sport. There always seemed to be that disconnect. But I think what I love about your podcast is that it goes even deeper than that. You don't necessarily, it's not a gendered thing.
Yeah.
It's a table tennis thing and it's a psychological thing. And
Yeah.
I just enjoyed the calmness of it, and I enjoyed the confidence that you have with the person that you're interviewing to kind of go there, because I think a lot of us can relate to the things that you talk about, because it doesn't matter what level you're at. I think we've all felt those kind of emotions, not feeling good enough, or not feeling, or being a bit isolated, or not kind of knowing what we're doing, like I said, because it's a solo sport. So I think what your podcast really tapped into was those inner thoughts that
Okay.
we haven't really spoken about as teams and about table tennis players before. So I really like that element of it. So I'm not sure, I can't give you advice. I really like
You will after and off.
I really like your
Maybe.
podcast. I think it's brilliant what you're doing. And yeah, I hope that you continue doing it.
I hope too, but I have few in French now coming.
Mm?
In English, it's harder for me to go sometime in deeper level, but I will try.
I mean, I know it's hard because it's, and I've been really impressed actually, because a lot of your ones, you do like a little French version and an English version.
In
It's
English,
very
yeah.
impressive, actually.
Yeah. I like that. I like that monologue. The monologue. I'm writing a lot, so I like. I will do, I think, more of that in the future. I think I even prefer that.
There was one you did about your time in Japan, I think,
Yeah.
that I really liked listening to, because that is
Yes.
like, it's your own inner monologue. And I think it put me, obviously I've not played at that level or done those kind of things, but it put me back in that headspace, actually, about being a young player and about being alone in the hall and about kind of seeing what's going on around you and being in your head that way. So I really like the monologue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
I'd
think
love
I
to
agree
hear more of those.
Yeah, I will do that for sure. This is sure, 100%.
Great. Have you got any advice for me?
I think it's really great that actually you are fighting for something as well, in your podcast. For women's more, right? So I think it's there is not many fighters around in the sport for women's. And of course in my career I felt that as well. The difference between men's and women's a lot. So I think you just need to keep going and keep the authenticity into it. It's not a battle, on the strong word, but I think just to present some women in the sport with their own potential, let's say, it's opening something brighter and lighter than just compared to men or whatever, I think just to say the story of some women, it's I think we need that. So just so I think just continue into that way. Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, I will let you go, but you kind of just mentioned there about that you did feel a bit the difference between how men's and women's table tennis is kind of presented and things like that. Do you mind kind of elaborating on that a little bit? Like, how did you feel that difference?
I personally, I never felt that. Like on my game, on my way of working and my way of practicing and my way of playing matches, because I think I had more men's style than women's style, and the guys always respected me, I think, for that. But this means also something. It means that if you play more girly style or more like just like how you play, it means like you are not good enough compared to them, or I don't know what it means exactly. If they respect me because I have men's style, then why they don't respect some other women's, you know? So I felt that more in the way how they were speaking sometimes to other women's,
Right.
not only the players but the coaches. I have some stories in one center that I was like, what? What what the fuck? Like, this is really real what is happening now. Um, so I always felt like the women were under the men, so with the macho or ego, or like playing maybe at the end of the hall and not on the first table, or not combining men and women together, or there is also less women's coaches. There is mostly men coach
For sure.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is only Darko who has Darko and Flavien Coton. They have a women's coach, and they are the only two players I think in Europe having that. So it shows that women can also do right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, more that they are better and we are worse. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I heard. I didn't feel for myself, but I heard around.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it was not the case.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Not at all. In Japan, they respect more women's than men's.
Okay.
On the street, they were more recognized. They are more superstars than men's. Also, they had better results. Before that, now I don't know, but before that, they had better results, and they were they had the name on gold. We had the draw, and they had the name on gold, and it was only women's. Ishikawa, Itomima, they had the name on gold. The others, no men's. So they were really respected and in China as well, they are well respected.
Yeah, I can definitely see that difference kind of in the China team and how they, talk about the women's game, and Sun Yingxia is such a celebrity and so
Yes.
celebrated and things like that. I would really love to see other top women nationally in different countries kind of getting that same kind of level of recognition and respect as we give to some of the men, because I think you're right, it's kind of almost seen as a subcategory of the main event.
Yes.
It's like that, you get like you said, the table in the corner. I think even at a local level, I kind of see this happening a lot, where the women's will be put on early in some corner of the hall, and then everybody has to gather around to watch the men's. So even at the very base level, you kind of start to see this disparity, in some places.
And it's even. I'm not fighting against the system. Just respect the women's. Respect like how they put effort into their work. Respect that we are different. We have different body. We have different life. We are not men's. We have cycles. We have hormones. We have we can have babies. We are much complex. We are complex persons. Yeah. So just respect them as who they are and the effort they put, and we are, I think, growing into we not only in sport but in general, women are lower than men in some way, so we have this complex, I think, when we grow up or how we are educated, or so we have something more. We have background, not only today but in previous years when we were not born or whatever. So we have a history. So just respect who we are.
How do you feel about the the news that in the LA Olympics is going to be a mixed team event? Because I was actually quite excited about that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, they are trying. Also in Paris now, it was we had same numbers of athletes.
Yeah, it was the first time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the first time. So I mean, this is getting on a good way and a better way. And I don't want that women are higher than men or whatever. No. I'm not searching that. Just respect them. You know, just respect them. The way how you talk to them, the way how you see them, the way how you engage with them, the way, you know, it's not a status or I want this more, come back to the same. Just respect them as a human being doing their maximum in their life, you know?
Yeah. It's not always about the comparison, I think.
No, not at all. Not at all. For me, at least, it's not.
No, I agree. I think, you know, we spend far too much time. I even struggle with it on the podcast a little bit, talking about the differences between the game, when actually, you know, the whole purpose of this podcast is to talk about the women's and give the women's the spotlight that it deserves.
Yes.
And things like that. So that needs to be the focus. It's not about comparing the styles or which is better, you know, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's about talking about and celebrating the women's side of the game and giving that the attention that it deserves, because we don't kind of celebrate it enough, I don't think. But things are changing. Things are definitely changing. And I think it's really exciting. Like, I'm really excited about what's coming up in the next couple of years, and you know, to see the games kind of rising together. I think that's really exciting. And social media as well. Like, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but some of the top, like, you know, on Instagram, the most followed table tennis players, you know, they're all women.
All right.
Well, apart from Hugo, who got like a mass. To be fair enough.
Yes.
But you know, Monica Batra, Ariana Diaz, you know, they have all got very high numbers of Instagram followers. You know, even more than you know the LeBron brothers and things like that. So there are. I think women are engaging with sport and sport personalities in a different way to how we traditionally consume sport, because I think their interest in sport has come through in the digital age. And I think there's massive opportunity here to kind of bring sports fans and female sports fans that kind of content and what they want, kind of through a digital medium. And I think that should be embraced, because I think that's the way that we kind of bring it all up together. And I don't know. I find it exciting. I find that prospect exciting, that there's an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, sure it is. And not only in sport, but in life in general, I think. It's, I mean, sport is also the result of something, or sport gives something, or, you know, sport is part of life. So I believe that things are changing, moving, and women have their place.
And then, in fact, before we say goodbye, can you please do the opening of On the Edge when you say on the edge, because it's so soothing.
Like, just on the edge?
Is it on the
Oh my god. Yeah, this I recorded like a year ago. Okay. All right, this is with the racket ball.
Yeah, the racket, the ball.
And then on the edge.
I love that. Thank you so much for staying with me today. You've been brilliant, and I think it's a really interesting conversation about everything. Thank you for being so open with us about your experiences, and I really look forward to your next episode and listening to your podcast.
Thank you. It was really great. I think mix of questions and directions, and well done. I will listen to that one.
Thank you, Marie. And that's all we've got time for this week. But before we wrap up, we've got to do our Champion of the Week. And the Champion of the Week this week is another French superstar, Pratika Parvati. Pratika is known for her achievements at a young age, winning the Under-21 European Championships aged just 16 and becoming French senior champion at 18. She has also achieved a World Championship team bronze for France, just an exceptional young player on the tour. She's also played mixed doubles with three-time French national champion Simon Gauzy, and game recognises game. I think she's a really exciting player, considering, you know, she's young, she's fresh, she's coming through the ranking, she's a real competitor. So definitely go follow Pratika. I will be sure to put her Instagram details in the description of this video. And that's it for this week. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please remember to give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and like and subscribe on YouTube. It really helps us to keep this podcast going. I really enjoy doing them. I hope you guys enjoy listening to them, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Bye.